Chosen one, stop what you are doing right now and place your hand over your heart. That ache you have been carrying, the one that shows up in the quiet moments when no one is watching, I need you to hear what heaven is saying about it today. God is not disappointed in you. He is proud of you. I know that might be the last thing you expected to hear, because the last 72 hours have not felt like the life of someone God is proud of. Maybe you have been moving through your days feeling invisible, doing everything right, staying faithful, showing up, and yet feeling like your prayers are hitting a ceiling. Or maybe you woke up this week at 3 o'clock in the morning with tears you could not explain, a loneliness so deep it felt less like an emotion and more like a physical weight pressing down on your chest. You feel forgotten, like everyone else is receiving the promises and you are still waiting in a room with no windows. And in that waiting, the enemy has started whispering a very specific lie. He has been telling you that the silence from heaven means something is wrong with you. He has been replaying that moment this week. Maybe the moment you broke down, maybe the moment you said something you regret, maybe the moment you questioned whether God was even listening. And he has been using that moment as evidence. He is telling you that your weakness disqualified you, that your doubt delayed you, that the reason you feel forgotten is because you are. But that is the most dangerous lie he has ever told you, because I need you to hear what the Word of God actually says about this moment. Zephaniah 3:17 says, "The Lord your God is in your midst, a mighty one who will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you by his love. He will exult over you with loud singing." Listen to that. He is not tolerating you. He is not managing you from a distance. He is rejoicing over you. He is singing over you right now, in this exact season, in the middle of the waiting, in the middle of the confusion, in the middle of the moment you thought disqualified you. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Think back to that moment this week when you chose to keep going even though you had every reason to stop. Maybe no one saw it. Maybe it did not feel like anything significant. Maybe it was just getting out of bed. Maybe it was choosing not to respond to that message. Maybe it was whispering a prayer through tears when you had nothing left to say. You did not know it then, but heaven saw every second of it. And God was not looking down at your weakness. He was watching your faithfulness, and he was moved by it. That moment was not failure. That moment was worship. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. God did. This is a divine appointment, one that was written into your story before the foundations of the earth were laid. You are not here by coincidence. You are here because heaven has a word that is specifically for you today, and it could not wait any longer. In the next few minutes, I am going to deliver the full declaration of God's love over your life, not as a comfort, but as a legal decree that silences the voice of the accuser. I am going to show you the specific place God has prepared for you, and why the waiting has been building something in you that cannot be rushed. And at the end of this message, we are going to seal this truth with a prayer of identity that rewrites the narrative the enemy has been writing about you all week. Do not click away. The version of you that has been crying out for confirmation, they deserve to stay until the end. If you leave now, you walk away before the verdict is read. The heaviness you feel right now is not rejection. It is not absence. It is the weight of a love so vast and so specific that your human frame is straining to hold it. God is not far from you. He has never been far from you. He is right here, closer than the breath in your lungs, prouder than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are not behind. You are deeply loved, deliberately chosen, and precisely placed. And today, heaven is making sure you know it. And if that truth just landed somewhere deep inside you, if something in your spirit recognized what your mind is still trying to process, then what I'm about to share was written for this exact moment in your life. The Chosen One's blueprint holds the roadmap God designed specifically for people like you. 8 chapters that decode why your life unfolded the way it did, why the isolation came so early, why the suffering ran so deep, and what God is activating in you right now. It includes the full audiobook, so you can carry this revelation with you wherever you go, and a powerful bonus, activating your prophet mantle. For those who sense God is preparing them to speak with authority in this generation, the link is in the first pinned comment below, but it won't stay there forever. Now let's go deeper, because here is what no one told you about the life you have been living. The very things that made you feel disqualified, the seasons of silence, the relationships that fell apart, the doors that closed in your face, the version of yourself you had to leave behind. None of that was rejection. It was refinement. And there is a difference so vast between those two realities that until you see it clearly, you will keep mourning losses that were actually releases. You will keep grieving rooms God locked you out of because He knew what was inside those rooms would have diminished you, not defined you. Consider the gardener who prunes a rose bush. Does he do it out of spite for the plant? No. He prunes to remove the dead branches, the weak stems, the overgrown foliage, so that the life force can be redirected to produce even more vibrant blooms. He removes what would choke the plant's potential, what would distract from its beauty. These seemingly harsh cuts are not acts of abandonment, but acts of divine architecture, shaping the plant for its ultimate purpose. Your life has been under a similar, loving cultivation. Think about how a goldsmith works. He does not put gold into fire to punish it. He puts it in because that is the only way to separate what is pure from what is not. The fire has one job, to remove what does not belong. And the goldsmith never walks away. He watches the entire process. He knows exactly how long to keep it in. He knows exactly when to bring it out. And when he looks at what remains, there is no grief about what was burned away. There is only satisfaction at what was revealed. Imagine the intense heat, the crucible glowing, the molten metal swirling. The goldsmith's gaze is unwavering, his focus absolute. He is not toying with the precious element. He is meticulously revealing its inherent worth. He sees the dross, the impurities, the elements that obscure the gold's radiant luster, and he understands that the fire is the only agent capable of their excision. He knows that the intensity of the flame is precisely what is needed to purify, to distill, to bring forth the unadulterated brilliance that lies dormant. And when the process is complete, his satisfaction comes not from the destruction of the impurities, but from the revelation of the pure, unblemished gold. That is the process you have been inside of. And God never walked away from the fire with you. He is the unwavering eye of the goldsmith, the careful hand that holds the crucible, the divine intelligence that governs the duration and intensity of the flame. Every trial, every season of seeming loss, every moment of intense pressure has been an act of exquisite divine craftsmanship, meticulously designed to bring forth the unadulterated, radiant gold of your spirit. You have not been alone in the furnace, you have been held. But here is where it goes deeper, because most people stop at that metaphor and feel comforted without actually being transformed by it. Comfort is not the goal, clarity is. And clarity requires you to look honestly at something you may have been avoiding. We can feel a sense of peace from the goldsmith analogy, a reassurance that God is present. But true transformation arises not from mere comfort, but from a profound shift in perception, an honest confrontation with the underlying assumptions that have dictated our experience. It requires us to step beyond the soothing narrative and into the challenging light of truth, to examine the very lens through which we view divine love. You have been measuring God's love for you by the quality of your circumstances. When things were smooth, you felt close to Him. When the ground shook, you questioned whether He had forgotten your name, but that is a misunderstanding of how divine love actually operates. Human love is often conditional and circumstantial. It responds to performance, to mood, to proximity. But the love of the Most High is not reactive. It is creative. It does not respond to what you are. It calls forth what you were always meant to become. Think of the difference between a gardener tending a wilting plant and a sculptor working with marble. The gardener responds to the plant's current state, trying to revive it based on its present condition. But the sculptor, armed with a vision of the finished masterpiece, chips away at the raw stone, revealing the form that already exists within. God's love is the sculptor's vision. It sees not merely your present state, but the magnificent, completed work you were always destined to be. His love is not a reaction to your flaws or your triumphs. It is the foundational truth of your being, the divine blueprint that he is actively revealing through every experience. This is what Paul understood when he wrote from a prison cell, not a prayer room, not a mountain top, not a moment of triumph, a prison cell. And from that place of physical confinement and external impossibility, he declared that nothing, not death, not life, not things present, not things to come, could separate him from that love. That was not poetic exaggeration. That was a man who had been inside the fire long enough to know that the fire was not the end of the story. Imagine Paul chained in the darkness of a Roman dungeon, the stench of despair thick in the air. Yet from this place of utter desolation, his spirit soared, anchored to an unshakable truth. He wasn't declaring that his circumstances would change. He was declaring that even if they didn't, even if he faced the ultimate separation from the earthly realm, the divine love that permeated his being was an unbreakable, eternal force. This was not born of a fleeting feeling of comfort, but of a deep, crystalline understanding forged in the crucible of his own fiery trials. He had encountered the immutable nature of God's affection, a love that transcended the tangible, the temporal, the terrifying. His declaration was a testament to a divine reality that could not be contained by stone walls or the pronouncements of emperors. And what is coming up next is the part most people are not prepared to hear. The reason the attack on your life came so early and so specifically. Stay with me, because this changes everything. The enemy does not attack what has no value. Think about that for a moment and let it fully settle. You do not post a guard at an empty vault. You do not build walls around a field with nothing in it. The level of opposition you have faced in your life is not evidence of how cursed you are. It is evidence of how significant your assignment is. The warfare was specific because the calling is specific. The resistance was relentless because what God placed inside you is not ordinary. And dark forces that operate in the unseen realm understand what you carry even when you do not. Consider a priceless artifact, a treasure of immense historical and monetary value. Would you leave it unguarded in a public square? Of course not. You would surround it with the highest security, employ vigilant sentinels, and construct impenetrable defenses. The intense opposition you have encountered is not a sign of God's displeasure or your inherent weakness. It is a powerful testament to the immense value of the divine seed planted within you. The enemy's ferocity is a direct response to the unparalleled potential he perceives, a desperate attempt to neutralize a force that threatens his dominion. He attacks the treasure, not the trash. Your struggles are an indication of your sacred destiny. This is why certain attacks came before you even had language to describe what was happening. This is why the confusion started early. The wounds came young, the self-doubt was sown in before you had the wisdom to recognize it as something foreign to your identity. The adversary does not wait until you are mature and fully equipped to begin his work. He moves in the earliest seasons because he understands something about seeds, that it is always easier to destroy a thing before it takes root. Imagine a gardener who notices a single, defiant weed sprouting in the midst of his prize-winning flower bed. He doesn't wait for it to grow tall, to spread its roots deep, to choke out the delicate blooms. He plucks it out immediately at its most vulnerable stage. The enemy operates with a similar predatory cunning. He seeks to extinguish the divine potential before it can establish itself, before it can blossom into its full glory. The early attacks, the childhood wounds, the insidious whispers of self-doubt were not random acts of cruelty. They were strategic assaults aimed at eradicating a sacred destiny before it could even take root and flourish. But you are still here, and that is not a small thing. Your presence, your survival against such calculated opposition is a profound testament to the resilience of the divine spark within you. and the unwavering protection of the one who placed it there. It is a declaration that the enemy's efforts, however cunning, were ultimately insufficient to extinguish the flame of your divine assignment. You are a living, breathing miracle, a defiant testament to a purpose that even darkness cannot fully comprehend or ultimately conquer. Now, once you understand the nature of the opposition, you are ready for the next layer, because this is where the real transformation begins. Most people spend their entire lives trying to recover from what was done to them. They go to counseling, they pray, they fast, they seek deliverance. And all of those things have their place. But there is a dimension of healing that none of those tools can reach unless something shifts in the way you understand your story. Because recovery asks the question, how do I get back to who I was before this happened? But that is the wrong question entirely. You were not meant to go back. The version of you that existed before the wilderness, before the betrayal, before the loss, that version did not yet have what the assignment requires. Consider the caterpillar. Its transformation is not about recovering its former self, but about a radical metamorphosis into a butterfly. If the caterpillar were to lament, "Oh, how I miss crawling on leaves," it would be missing the glorious destiny that awaits it. The process of healing is not about returning to a past state of innocence or ignorance, but about embracing the new identity forged in the fires of experience. The tools of recovery are valuable, but they are aimed at a partial restoration. True transformation, however, transcends mere recovery. It is a resurrection into a higher, more potent version of yourself, a self equipped with the wisdom, resilience, and grace earned through the trials. God does not restore people to who they were. He resurrects them into who they were always meant to become. That is a different process, and it requires a different posture. It requires us to cease looking backward with longing for what was lost, and instead to look forward with anticipation for what is being revealed. It's not about patching up the old garment, but about receiving a new robe of righteousness woven with threads of experience and destiny. This new posture is one of embracing the unfolding, of trusting the divine architect who is not merely repairing, but recreating, not just healing, but elevating. Think about Lazarus. When Jesus arrived at the tomb, Martha said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." She was still trying to understand what happened through the lens of prevention. But Jesus was not operating in the language of prevention. He was operating in the language of purpose. He looked at the same death that had broken everyone around him and saw not a tragedy to be mourned, but a moment to be used. And what he brought out of that tomb was not just a man who had been sick. It was a testimony that could never have been told any other way. Martha saw the end of a story. Jesus saw the preamble to a miracle. Her grief was rooted in the past, in what should have been. His action was rooted in the future, in what was destined to be. He didn't just reverse the natural process, he superimposed divine purpose onto a natural tragedy, transforming a scene of utter despair into a powerful declaration of resurrection. Lazarus did not simply return to his former life, he emerged from the tomb a living testament to divine power. A testimony that served to solidify faith and authenticate the Messiah's mission in a way that his prior existence could never have achieved. Your delay was not abandonment. Your death, whatever it looked like in your life, was not the final word. It was but a profound pause, a sacred interlude, an intense crucible designed not to extinguish your flame, but to forge it into something far more brilliant and resilient. The moments that felt like an ending were, in fact, the fertile ground for a resurrection, the necessary prelude to a testimony that would resonate with unparalleled power. But let me challenge you with something, because this is the part most people quietly skip over. There is a version of faith that is actually pride wearing a spiritual costume. It looks like trust, but it is really control. It sounds like surrender, but underneath it is a demand. God, I will follow you, but only if I can still understand the path. And the moment the path stops making sense, the moment the timeline extends beyond what you calculated, the moment the breakthrough is delayed again, that version of faith begins to fracture, because it was never really faith. It was a negotiation. This pseudo-faith is like a contract written in invisible ink. It appears to bind us to God, but it is contingent upon our comprehension and our convenience. It's a faith that demands a clear itinerary before embarking on the journey, a faith that expects divine intervention to align perfectly with human expectations. When the unexpected detours arise, when the promised destination seems further away than ever, this fragile faith crumbles, revealing its true nature, not an unyielding commitment to the divine will, but a calculated attempt to orchestrate outcomes, a subtle manipulation disguised as devotion. It is the faith that wants God to serve its plan, rather than the faith that surrenders to God's. True trust does not require explanation. Abraham left for a land he had not yet seen, with no map and no timeline. He did not receive a detailed itinerary before he took the first step. He received a promise and a direction, and that was enough. The faith God rewards is not the faith that understands everything. It is the faith that moves before understanding arrives. Abraham's journey is the archetype of genuine trust. He was not given a detailed map, a step-by-step guide, or even a clear vision of his final destination. He was given a word, a promise, and a gentle, irresistible nudge in a specific direction. And that, for him, was sufficient. He stepped out into the unknown, not because he understood the logistics, but because he believed the source of the promise. This is the essence of the faith that God honors, a radical dependence on his character, a willingness to move in obedience even when the path is shrouded in mystery, a profound confidence that his direction is inherently right, regardless of human comprehension. It is the courage to take the first step into the fog, trusting that the light will appear as you walk. Coming up, the one hidden thing that most chosen people unknowingly do, that keeps their breakthrough waiting at the door. Stay with me. And this leads us to something that most people who are spiritually awake still struggle to confront honestly. You have been praying for God to open doors. You have been fasting for divine favor. You have been standing in expectation for the promise to manifest. But quietly in the background, in the places you do not show anyone, you have also been building a backup plan, not because you do not believe, but because some part of you is still not fully convinced that you are the one God meant when he spoke those promises. Some part of you still suspects that the word was for someone more qualified, more disciplined, more consistent. Someone less complicated, less broken, less messy than you. This hidden backup plan is like an emergency parachute that you meticulously pack even while you're confidently boarding the airplane for your intended destination. It's not born of a lack of belief in the flight itself, but from a subconscious uncertainty about your own qualifications to arrive safely. It's a silent acknowledgement of a residual doubt, a whispered suspicion that perhaps the grand pronouncements and glorious promises were intended for a more polished, more perfected version of humanity, not for the beautifully imperfect, wonderfully complex individual that you are. It is the subtle act of hedging your bets, a subconscious insurance policy against the possibility that you, in your current state, are not truly the recipient of divine favor. And that quiet disbelief, not the loud doubt, but the quiet one, is what has been holding the door shut. Not the enemy, not your circumstances, not the people who walked away, the agreement you made with an identity that was never yours. This subtle, insidious disbelief is the invisible gatekeeper, the silent saboteur of your breakthrough. It is the unspoken pact you have entered into with a false identity, an agreement rooted in the mistaken belief that you are somehow less than, unworthy of the divine promises whispered directly to your soul. It is not the external forces of opposition that are barring your way, but this internal compromise, this quiet surrender to an identity that was never meant to define you. You are, in essence, holding the key to your own locked door, but you don't realize it because you've convinced yourself you don't belong on the other side. Because here is what heaven has always seen when it looks at you. Not the version of you that fell, not the version that wandered, not the version that struggled in places you are still too ashamed to speak aloud. Heaven has always seen the finished version, the completed work, the one who made it through, the one who carried the weight and still moved forward, the one who stayed in the process even when the process was unbearable. Imagine looking at a potter's wheel. You see the lump of clay, shapeless and unformed, but the potter, with a clear vision in his mind's eye, sees the exquisite vase that will emerge. Heaven sees you not through the lens of your past failures or present struggles, but through the finished masterpiece you are destined to become. It beholds the valiant spirit that has endured, the resilience that has been forged, the unwavering commitment to the divine journey, even when the path felt unbearable. God sees the warrior who has already won, the sage who has already learned, the beloved who has already arrived in his heart, even as you are still walking the path. And here is the part you probably did not expect, the thing that rewrites everything. The love of God for you is not waiting for you to get it right before it fully arrives. It is already here. It has always been here. Before the breakthrough, before the change, before the growth, before the moment you finally feel worthy of it, the love was already present, not as a reward for becoming, as a foundation for becoming. You were not loved because you were chosen. You were chosen because you were loved. This is the paradigm-shifting revelation. Divine love is not a prize to be won, a bonus to be earned after a successful spiritual performance. It is the very bedrock upon which your existence is built. It is the air you breathe, the light that guides you, the eternal embrace that has held you from the moment of your conception in the mind of the Creator. You were not selected for love because you are chosen. Rather, you were chosen because the very essence of your being is rooted in an infinite, inexhaustible ocean of divine love. This love is not a future destination. It is your present reality, your eternal origin, and your ultimate fulfillment. And that shifts everything. Because if the love came first, before the obedience, before the sacrifice, before the transformation, then you are not working your way toward it. You are working from it. You are not trying to earn God's attention. You already have it. You are not trying to prove your worth to heaven. Heaven already declared it. The question was never whether God was proud of you. The question was whether you would ever stop long enough to receive it. When you understand that you are loved unconditionally, not as a reward for striving, but as the foundational truth of your identity, everything changes. Your efforts are no longer frantic attempts to earn favor, but joyful expressions of a love that already possesses you. You are not a beggar at the gates of heaven, seeking scraps of attention. You are a beloved child, already seated at the Father's table. Your worth is not a commodity to be proven, but a divine decree that has been eternally established. The real work is not about becoming worthy, but about finally, fully, and freely embracing the radical, unwavering love that has always been yours. So tonight, before you sleep, place your hand over your heart and speak this out loud, because declaration and receiving are the same act. I release every version of myself that I built to survive what was never meant to define me. I break agreement with every lie that told me I was forgotten, overlooked, passed over, or too far gone. I receive the love that was placed on me before I was formed, before I had a name, before I had a history. I declare that my delay was preparation, and my wilderness was not punishment. I am the one God called by name. I am the one heaven has been watching over. I am not behind. I am not disqualified. I am not finished. I am exactly where the process requires me to be, and I trust the hands that have been building me in the dark. I step forward, not in the strength of who I was trying to be, but in the fullness of who God declared I already am. I am chosen. I am loved. I am enough. And I am ready. If this message spoke to something real inside of you, share it with someone who needs to hear that they have not been forgotten. Leave a comment and let me know what opened up for you today. And if you are ready to go even deeper, everything you need is in that first pinned comment. God sees you. He always has.